everybody, it's Cheryl Coleman, and we are starting our Huntington Beach Sunset Beach Forum out this year. We will be doing it Zoom at least for the next 6 months because of COVID. So it is always the third Thursday of the month, with the exception of March because that's St. Patrick's Day. So it will be the third Wednesday of the month at 5 o'clock. And we've got some great speakers every month. We have Natalie from the City Council is going to update us on what's going on in Huntington Beach and in Sunset Beach. There's been some challenges with homeless and Sunset, and we had a big meeting on that. And so she's going to keep us updated on how they're taking care of that. And then we have educational speakers every month. We also give a market update on real estate and how the real estate market's doing, which, by the way, my team's here, so I'm going to introduce you to them. So if you are looking to buy or sell a home anywhere, and we can help you really anywhere. We have offices all over the world. And personally, we cover the mountains, the desert, the beaches, pretty much most of Southern California. So if you know anybody looking to buy or sell, please give us a call. Mercedes French, she has been with me the longest. You probably know her. So hi, Mercedes. And,
hi, everyone.
And there is Gina. Gina started over a year ago. So she is on our team as well. And our, say hi, Gina.
Hi, everybody.
And our newest member, Adam, who has started off with a bang. Adam, what happened? You got your license when, and then what happened?
You love to tell this story, but I got my license on January 5th, and I put in an offer and opened escrow on January 9th.
Yay.
He is in his first escrow within a couple weeks.
Out of 4 offers, we got accepted. So it was fantastic.
Very cool.
And we are getting offers accepted. I know a lot of people are out there struggling to get their offers accepted, but we are getting them accepted.
Gina and Mercedes both just had their offers accepted this past week.
We just had 3 close. We just had 3 close. Well, our team total 5.
Yeah. So we're doing great. So if someone's out there struggling and their offer's not getting accepted, send them our way. We'll get them accepted. So now we're going to go on to the forum, and we have Natalie with the City Council who's going to update us.
The meeting as well. There we go. As well as Mayor, no problem. As well as Mayor Dalglaze and Lieutenant Smith, and our PIO for the PD, who's actually now moving over to the city, which is our public information officer. I hate when people just give abbreviations out. So anyway, so really our goal was to kind of recap for everybody the efforts that had been going on prior, and also discuss what happened. One of the things that Cheryl just mentioned is that they really encouraged everybody to call. If you see something, say something. And that saying something could be both calling the non-emergency line. If there is an emergency, calling 911. If it's not emergency, they can also use the MyHB app, which allows a picture to be taken and that to be put on a map. So that way people can have the GPS location to be able to follow up on that. So really that was one of the main things we were looking at. Also, with regards to the incident that took place, I think that while it wasn't really kind of your typical homeless person who was there, there's different numbers, but between 7 and 13 is the typical number I hear about people who are regularly down in that area. This person who was involved in this incident wasn't one of those people. It was somebody who had kind of been more staying with a mom, his mom, had been down there a bit, and it was just a little bit of a different situation. But that being said, it did bring up the fact, and it kind of shined a light on the fact that there is a challenge with homelessness in the area, which we already know. Also, just on some like more petty crime challenges as well. So again, the response is really, if you see something, say something. But also that evening when Chief Parr and I were walking from the parking lot over to the community center, we noticed how dark it was. It was extraordinarily dark on the Greenbelt there. And one of the things that the officers were talking about was that one of the main ways to kind of deal with public safety, crime, homelessness in that area really would be lighting, as well as potentially changing some of the either the vegetation or landscaping right there. So the great news is there's a community group that's being put together that we are going to be meeting with. Also, I met with our public works director, Sean Crumby, last week, and we took a walk along the Greenbelt in the evening, just so I could show him how dark it was. And so he's the one that knows what we can physically do, how much things will cost, and also how long things might take as well. So we talked about a couple of different options down there, including lower lighting, also the lighting that already exists, possibly adding like a second awning to that, I'll call it. So those are some options that we're talking about. Of course, though, dealing with that, you're going to be dealing with costs. We talked about if we did lighting all the way down the Greenbelt along the sidewalk, it'd be over $1 million. Yeah. And so, but that, we need to understand what the costs are, see where the challenging spots are, and then work with the community group and then kind of determine some options to bring to city council about what to do. So I guess the key thing is we're working on it. One of the great things about that community meeting to me was everybody coming together to be really honest about the concerns, to bring them up, and then really to have, I think, responsive feedback and a great response from the city, and then an ongoing response, not just a one-off because an event happened. So is there anything else, Cheryl, that you can think of from that event?
Well, we had a lot of homeless in Central Park, and I walked the park every day, and I used the HB app when I saw stuff left over from homeless people, and the next day it would be gone. So that works. And I think maybe they took down the shelter, but I don't see the homeless problem in Huntington Beach and Huntington Central Park anymore, at least on my side where the lake is. So what did they do there? Is there something that they learned from that they can do in Sunset? Or
well, that's yeah. I mean, every place is different, right? So being on the beach right there is just going to attract a different population as well. So there's that. At Central Park, a lot of the challenges that we had there originally were not due to, but they were exacerbated by kind of the greenery, the vegetation again that was around. So there was a lot of pruning of different areas. So that way there weren't places for people to kind of camp behind. And that kind of is a little bit of equivalent to the Sunset Beach sign that was removed, right? So, but again, there are unintended consequences. And that's one of the things we talked about too. If you do one thing, people are going to move. But, as an aside, things that we've done in the last year with regards to homelessness, which I think is important too. We have created the Navigation Center on Beach in Cameron. Through there, if you go to hbhomelesssolutions.com, you'll be able to see regular, I think it's weekly updates on the number of people that are there and different data about our efforts with regards to homelessness. You will see, I think on average throughout the year, it started in December. We've had, I think on average, probably a little over 100 people within the shelter at any given time. Right now, it's lower. It's, I think, just under 80. Really, it's because of COVID. We had a number of people get COVID there. And so we've been bringing them over to a different shelter that is quarantining and working to help people who have COVID who are homeless through Illumination Foundation, not on our shelter facility site. So that's why the number is lower if you look right now. But so that, you think about that, that's generally, there's been, I think, 200 plus people helped throughout that period of time at the shelter. We could have a long conversation about what does help mean and, where are they now and we can do that, but that would be a long conversation. And we're working on that. But if you think about it though, generally that'd be 100 people that would be out on the streets, maybe in Sunset Beach, maybe throughout the city that are not there, we're working to get housing navigation services for them, other services. And so hopefully on the right track to being in the place that they should be. That might be back home somewhere else. That might be, in permanent supportive housing. It really depends on the person. their story and where they should be. And also if they need additional services for mental health and job training, so many different things. So Navigation Center was created. We worked on some property ordinances this year as well. That also has helped in the parks at Central Park because now there is signage up that indicates to people, you know, you can't have your stuff here. If you have your stuff here and it's tagged, you have this much time to remove it or it's going to be taken. And basically we then store it for 90 days. If they don't come back for it after 90 days, it gets thrown away. So that's something that we didn't have in the past with regards to homelessness. We still have our homeless task force. And we also have recently hired basically the Orange County homeless czar. Jason Austin is now our Deputy Director of Homelessness and Behavioral Health. I just met with him for about an hour and a half earlier today. He's doing amazing things. I don't want this to be all about homelessness unless you want it to be though. So I guess my point is we are doing a lot. Also our Be Well, that's another important thing. The Be Well, OC, NHB, our Hope Van was out there. And basically that is a program that we started. We started the pilot in August, really effectively in September. And now there are 2 vans. They're the big blue vans that say Hope Happens Here. And those are being triaged or dispatched by our police department when a call comes in and it is a nonviolent call for either mental health, substance abuse, or homelessness. Again, where it's a nonviolent call. If they're available, the Hope team will be triaged and dispatched to that event, to those people. And that's really a precedent-setting program. And I'm really proud of that program. Since we initiated that, there are, I think, another 4 or 5 cities who have joined on to that as well. We did that because there were about 15,000 of these types of calls in the year prior. And those are all calls where the police have been going to them and they're not necessarily trained for them. And that also means they're not out there doing the things like we're talking about here and making sure that public safety is enhanced. So having our Be Well program allows them to do the work that the police to do the work that they would like to do. And also it gives our residents and people in our community the type of assistance that is really more helpful for their situation. And what we've been seeing is about 200 calls per month that they've been going on so far. Again, I just mentioned we have 2 vans now that we added the 2nd van in November. They're not quite full time yet. Like everybody, we're working on staffing. It's challenging right now. But I'm really excited about that program and I'd be happy to answer any questions about that too. I think that that's another part. So what we're really trying to do here is to create kind of a system of care in Huntington Beach that addresses all of these different pieces. We do acknowledge that it's not really the city's fiscal responsibility to be providing some of these services. So while we're piloting them, and I think there's a definite need, we are also seeking funding through the county, through the state. But we really we are in a position to be innovative, to be the first to show the data, to prove it, and then to hopefully get everything funded beyond this right now too. So.
Question for you, Natalie.
Sure, Larry.
I saw the San Francisco and Los Angeles bought buildings to put homeless in at the cost of $300,000 plus per homeless person. It's getting time where you have to say not only no, but hell no. Go someplace else. We're not going to put up with the expense of these homeless people taking away our tax dollars and creating problems in the city. It's time to say hell no. And councilmen who want to do this, they can go someplace else and work.
I hear you, Larry. I think it's really frustrating. It's challenging as residents, to see what you don't want to see, right? But we also have to acknowledge that where is that going to be that they're going to go? There's also, we want to make sure that we have our streets for our community. But we also need to make sure that we're doing right by the people who are out on the streets as well. And that's not necessarily something everybody agrees with, but I'll tell you this. If we don't offer people the appropriate level of services, we will end up in a legal battle that will cost us tremendously. And that we don't want our tax dollars going towards that either. So in lieu of that, it's really about finding a balance, finding constructive ways to house people. Not everybody needs the same type of housing. Every story, every individual is different. So, some people, like I was looking at our data today, we have, I think it was like 40% non-chronically homeless, 60%, and these are relative, kind of not exact numbers, chronically homeless. Chronically homeless means been on the streets for over a year and have some type of disability. But what I'm saying there is there's multiple different demographics here who have different needs and different responses, right? For the non-chronic, that means somebody that's been on the streets less than a year, almost half of the people. That's a concern. That's also a why. And so I think the thing for me is figuring out, like, why are people out there? And there's a host of reasons. And then how do we address that? The other thing is, number one, again, I could have like a 3-hour conversation just on this. And I think that the challenge is, as a community and as residents, some of it, I think the response is, I don't care. I don't want to see them. And I understand, but we have to be responsible to people, respond in a way that is, acknowledges the impact on our community, but also realizes that, again, we have to make smart decisions that are legal, and do show compassion, because I hope that that's the type of community that we're a part of, but also address the root issues of these things. And some of those things go way beyond the local city council level. Again, county, state, and federal. As far as like mental health, yes, we're addressing some of that with our Be Well efforts. But there are bigger challenges there, and that do need to be addressed at the state level. We're doing our best, but we can do better. I hear what you were saying, Larry, that you just want everybody to leave. But my question would be, I think everybody might have that same response, and there has to be somewhere for people to go. And I do think we can do it in a compassionate way.
I think you had a good point, though. There are people out there that have been homeless most of their lives, and they want to be homeless. Leave us alone. We want to be homeless. Well, okay, then get out of our town. Go find a place that'll accommodate homeless people. And then you have the people that's a real concern if they've just become homeless over the last year. Yeah, why?
Yeah. So we're trying to figure that out, but the other challenge is, in the homeless task force will tell you, the service, it was mentioned at the Sunset Beach meeting that there are a number of service resistant people who are homeless in that area. So that is a bigger challenge. A lot of I don't want to call people low hanging fruit, but the people who have been easier to kind of, help into the process are at the shelter, right? Not everybody wants to go to a congregate shelter though either, right? For a lot of reasons. They might have had a bad situation in the past. But we're trying to, figure out a way for them to get the assistance that they need, and do it in a way that's effective. Oh, I know what I was saying, that the service resistance, a lot of that though, sometimes on the 20th contact, they are broken enough to where, okay, they're going to go. So as challenging as that sounds, that is the situation. And so we're just kind of keep at it and trying to create a system that helps. And one thing, Larry, I know people often I hear, are upset and don't want services provided to the people who are homeless, but for fear of it being a magnet for more people to come into town. And we are cognizant of that all the time. And with that, the solutions that we tend to provide are for people who have some type of connection to Huntington Beach. So that way it's in I'm not going to define all of that right now, But that is the goal, so that way we're not encouraging more people to come into town to get services. The positive thing is Huntington Beach isn't the only city that's dealing with this or that's responding to it. And I think that is also the success of the last couple of years. It was only the county, and the county wasn't doing anything. And now all of the different cities are being more proactive. And so it's less likely that homeless people are going to move to the different cities, because we are able to enforce our anti-camping laws now because we have our shelter. We weren't able to do that before. So again, if you want to talk more about homelessness, I am here to talk about that. It's one of my most, it's one of the things that for me, being on council, I'd say one of the main reasons why I'm here. I don't have a Goldilocks thought about this though. I know that I won't personally solve this in 4 years, but I know that we can make a dent and really make a real impact. So
well, having the shelter is a big dent because we didn't have one. So, you know, that took a long time coming. So that was
Yeah.
that you guys did that. So
I wanted to say too that
make more fun?
we can't perpetuate this, Natalie. That's what we're doing, is perpetuating it. And the homeless in this state has gone up 50% from last year. And that is, we're being a magnet in order, because of our goodness of heart. It's time to stop being suckers and put a stop to it and take control of it. That's all I'm trying to tell you.
I hear you, Larry.
Thank you.
How about anything new popping up in Huntington Beach? Any plans or?
Well, let's see what we have here. So let me tell you a little bit about just some positive things from the last year too. So we, again, you know, all of these things are policy decisions. Not everybody's going to agree with all of them, but you know, I see some of these things as successes that we've had. We did already talk about the mobile crisis response with Be Well. We are converting 674 existing rental units to middle income housing. And contrary to what some folks are saying, we didn't issue any bonds to do that. And basically we're just trying to make it a little bit more affordable for some people with middle income. So what does middle income mean? I think it's 80 to 100 and some percent of the annual income, average median income. So that's looking at like nurses, teachers, firefighters, you know, I think people that everyone would say, you know, would you like to be your neighbor? And so it's really challenging for people given the current, you know, market as far as housing in general, rental, purchasing, everything, to live here. And we want to make sure that people can come here, live here, hopefully with this program, save a little money and invest here with people like you with real estate. And, you know, we need to be able to keep having a vibrant community by welcoming in, you know, these people, these service providing people, and others as well. So that's an important thing I think we've done. Another huge thing, we've fully funded our pensions. You often hear about, you know, how the pensions are breaking cities and unfunded liabilities. And I'm happy to say that we refinanced our unfunded liabilities this last year. And then really kind of as luck would have it, with the result of the market doing extraordinarily well with PERS and giving back a 22% rate, we actually fully funded our pensions at this point. And we've structurally made it where for future years, we are putting money away when we have, well, we have to put it away basically, so that we shouldn't be in that boat again. I think that that's really important as well. We've increased spending for capital improvement projects by over 40%. The bulk of that money, and I think this is a key one that we hear all the time, is going to go towards repaving our roads more frequently. And I know I've been driving around and I hear that, and I actually need to call our public works because I'm still like, why is there a pothole here? I thought we did this street. So in the past, we did 12 zones in the city, and every year a different zone would be paved. The arterials are a little bit different with that, but now we're lowering that to every 6 years, the streets will be paved. And that's pretty exciting. our public works team has let us know that we actually have a very high score. I forget the name of the score, but for our streets, it's over 80, which I believe the state is much lower than that. So we're doing well, but anybody that drives over a pothole will say, well, what about that one? So we're working on it. I will say that downtown is the one that's downtown Huntington is going to be the one that is going to be paved next. And that's a really large investment and it's more costly than some of the other zones because of the amount of concrete in that area with alleyways and things like that. So if you were to look at our budget, you'd see a spike in the paving costs this year because of that. Let's see what else. Also, we just opened up, this is an exciting one. We just opened up a new playground. If I recommend everyone goes, who cares about how old you are, over in Central Park by the lake. We had our ribbon cutting last week. It was a $1.2 million project, I believe. But let me tell you, I haven't seen so many kids and families out in such a long time. And I went on, we have like a zip line on it. And it's a really exciting place. We ultimately connected kind of the big kid side over to the little kid side and connected two sides of the park. Right by the lake. It's really cool. I highly recommend it. It's over by Kathy Mays. Please do go check it out. If you bring kids, definitely we are encouraging people to watch their kids because it is a little bit more of a risky venture with this park. But I know my kids actually went again today. My kids are getting older now. They're 11 and 13. The playground is meant for 5 to 12, but don't tell anybody. I actually went on it too. And I was encouraged.
It actually looks like it's for older kids.
I know.
Coolest playground I've ever seen. It's almost like space age playground, but
it's so cool. But and with that,
go take a look. Yeah,
it's representative of us doing a lot more park improvements, maintenance of the playgrounds throughout the community. We've been doing a lot of that. Also improving our community center, like Edison Community Center, Murdy Community Center. We're working on efforts to redo Main Street, actually downtown. So we're working on a design right now for that. That will be coming to council at some point. We're looking at doing a promenade where at least, and this is not officially voted through yet, by the way. So this is an idea that is being designed, but I think it would be great. Where second block would remain closed, but would be closed more intentionally with, it would be activated landscaping, trees, lighting, and also the first and third block would also have a lot of improvements to make it flow. So it wouldn't just be done in that location. But we've gotten a lot of really good feedback about that. So I'm excited about it. Let's see.
Quick question.
Yeah,
Central.
David.
Sure.
Quick question on Central Park. I keep hearing for the last couple of years, there's an approved to build a wooden boardwalk around the lake. I keep hearing it's in the budget, it's approved. Nothing ever gets started.
So it's starting right now. I don't know if it's wooden though. I will say that. I know that we are working on it right now, and I could probably text or before we get off the call, I'll probably get a response to you. But we are starting that right now. And so that's exciting. Yes, because right around the lake, it's so bumpy and the trees, roots have come through, and it's really not safe, and it's certainly not accessible. So we are working on that. Oh, I forgot another really cool thing. If you've seen the Moby Mats down on the beach, which is basically an accessibility pathway for 6th Street and also Huntington, I believe. So that's pretty exciting. And we have one at Butterfly Park, so at Norma Gibbs. And also, I think they're going to do one at one of the Central Parks as well. So those are some exciting improvements too. And we have it was a $10 million surplus. I think now that we've finished up the year, I think it's exciting to say we do have a surplus. I believe it's about $5 million now. But I will tell you that when I started on council, when I started running for council, it was in the middle, actually it was the very beginning of COVID. The day that I talked to my treasurer was March 13th, 2020. It's the day that my kids' school shut down, everything, right? And so it was like, oh my goodness, what am I doing getting involved in this right now? And, my mentors who've been mayors here were like, it's going to be really bad. It's really difficult to be on council when you have no money. And so I just was preparing for the fact that this is going to be really hard. We're going to make really difficult decisions. And there were decisions that were already being made that were difficult with restructuring of our city hall and allowing some folks, giving them the opportunity to retire early. That helped the city restructure, save money. And now here we are with a surplus. We're in such a great position. We want to keep it that way. And I think we're in a position to do that. So I won't talk anymore. I think that's an important thing. And we didn't raise taxes or cut services. So there's that too.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions? She covered a lot. Questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Terry.
Can you speak to California law about organic waste recycling and where Huntington Beach stands with respect to that?
Sure. So it's going to be a preliminary response, kind of. So the law coming down from the state basically was mandating that initially something be implemented by January 2022. So now, right? But because of COVID and everything, they've given us a little bit of wiggle room. Actually, at the last council meeting, if you look at our agenda and the documents attached to that, you'll get all of your information. But I'm not going to make you run through that. But if you want to get more detail, you can. What it boils down to is the last council meeting of 2021, we had the first discussion about this change in ordinance. At the last council meeting on Tuesday, we had the second. We had to have 2 before a new ordinance is implemented. So it is there. Essentially, Republic is the one that is kind of, driving everything, but we'll be working with them on educating the public. What I was questioning, are we going to get like a 4th trash can or what is happening? By the looks of things, it's going to actually be, no, it's going to stay with the 3. And I believe it will be the green, the green waste trash can will also get the food waste. There will be more training, education, and all of those things though throughout the year. Part of the ordinance is enforcement. And there won't be obviously any enforcement right now because we haven't communicated effectively what we're going to be doing. So I believe that the enforcement won't take place, and it says this in the ordinance, until the following year. So we'll get some time to start implementing this, educating the public, and then enforcing it. All of that being said, apartments and buildings that have a different type, like a larger trash bin receptacle that don't have the same thing, that's going to be a different conversation. And I don't have enough information to say what's happening with that yet. But that is also part of the ordinance. Terry, I'm sorry if that wasn't giving you a ton of great information, but the key is we are working with Republic on it. It will happen. I'm excited actually to learn more about it so that way we can work to lower methane gas pollution, but also so we can see like, let's make sure we're doing it right. And that we can educate the public. Another thing for me as a resident just a consumer is I want to make sure that I'm recycling properly. I can guarantee you that I am not. And so that's kind of on my thing to talk with Republic about let's get out into the schools, let's get out to the community and tell us like how we should be doing this. And is it actually getting to where it's supposed to go? And that's a whole other conversation. But at least we can be trained to do it properly. I've heard that, you have to clean out your plastic or it doesn't get recycled. Well, how many people are doing that? I doubt it that most people are. So I'd like to hear more of the real data behind that and also educate us better on what we can do. So that's on my list.
Great.
Thanks, Terry.
Any other questions? All right, well, Natalie, that was wonderful. I can't believe how much you talked about. That was great.
Sorry.
No, it was
great.
awesome.
Thank you, Natalie.
You covered a lot.
You're welcome. And I'm going to put my email address for the city in the chat as well.
Right.
And then Cheryl, feel free to share that out as well. And if any of you ever have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to email me. And I recently met with some residents from Sunset Beach. I met with a bunch of people when we were opening up the playground. I love to talk with people. The way that I find out what really needs to be done in the city is by talking to residents. COVID doesn't make that any easier. But I want you to know whether we agree or disagree on something. That's fine. Like I don't mind people reaching out who have a completely different theory on different things, but hopefully we can have a dialogue with one another. And I can have my mind expanded, you can have yours, and we can come to some better solution. So please email me. I'm happy to meet up for coffee or what have you. And thanks for having me here tonight and to let me talk with you.
Thank you, Natalie.
You're welcome.